What is it to be a human and what is it to be a god? And how do those mix when both ideas collide together? And the perfect story that demonstrates this is Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. Sandman is a series that was created during the late 80s through DC Comics' Vertigo chain, where if you didn't like reading the PG-13 version of DC, you would have another option, an option which gave you a library full of adult-oriented comics. And throughout Neil's story, we follow Dream, the god as he puts it that contains the entire collective unconscious of humans. Dream's journey begins when he's captured by a man named Roderick Burgess, a man seeking immortality. However, his plan was never to really capture Dream, but to instead capture his older sister Death, the only being who can actually grant him the immortality he desires. And what's so interesting about this beginning portion is that despite being captive for over a century, that was enough time for Dream to observe and comprehend the humans who were his captives, the ones he serves, by giving them dreams and noticing how cruel they actually can be. Cruel not only to him but to themselves. Like, for example, forcing your own son to commit animal cruelty despite him not agreeing to the idea, or forcing a woman who's having your child to abort despite her pleading that she wants to keep her baby, or letting an entire universe be destroyed because you failed to do your duty. And in the world of Sandman, there are countless other examples of situations like this, where humans do evil things to one another and where gods fail to take action when necessary. And with this video, I'm going to explore the world of Sandman and what happens when the world of man meets with the world of gods, and what are the repercussions moments like this have in the story. So stick around and let's explore the dark world of Sandman. Imagine going to a diner where everyone there is a stranger to you. You sit in a corner where you feel the most comfortable, away from the gaze of the other people that are there, because you think they may hurt you. You think the moment you speak, they'll laugh at you, and it's that thought that haunts your mind. But when you realize that in your hand you have this powerful weapon, a weapon that only you possess and control, a weapon so powerful that you think of yourself more of a god than man, and it gives you a sense of confidence. You take a look around the diner at all the people around you, and you start to wonder, what if you were actually a god? What if you could play with these people? Make them say and do things they naturally wouldn't. You get curious. You start small. You control them from leaving the diner. Make them feel like this is home, that they only exist here in this space. You then start to make them feel good, giving them things they want. Give them a taste of their darkest pleasures. You then decide to let them show each other who they really are, and with that causing violence between them. You make them love you. You then allow them to get to know each other in a more intimate level. Things escalate, and by now you're even more excited. More than you've ever been before. You get even more curious and wonder, how far can you actually get? How far of the line will you cross to understand them, to understand yourself? And it's this concept that Neil Gaiman brings with John Dee, or Dr. Destiny. In the 6th issue of Sandman, John Dee is in possession of Morpheus's ruby, one of the 3 items that Dream needs in order to be at full power, with the ruby being the item he put most of his power into. But now that power is in the hands of a human full of wickedness and evil intentions to hurt other people. And the way he goes by doing this is to keep a group of people in a diner for 24 hours, and with each passing hour he slowly controls them into doing disgusting vulgar things, with their actions becoming more and more grotesque the longer John is in possession of the ruby. Now, the real question is, what drives someone like John to think of something like this? Despite having enough power to do good, why does he choose evil? And to understand John, we have to get to know him. John Dee is a supervillain in the DC universe. Born from the affairs of his mother Ethel Cripps, the person who robbed Dream's ruby in the first place, giving it to John, and his father being Roderick Burgess, Dream's kidnapper. And during this time, John created a device that would tamper with the Dreamstone, allowing it to only be used by him and not Dream. With his power now grown greater than it had been in a long time, and with him now exercising this new power to wreak havoc upon the world, the Justice League's only course of action in defeating him was to prevent John to ever dream by ultimately manipulating his psyche, making sure he would never use the device he created to harm others, with his last stop being Arkham Asylum. And this is the fall of what was once a brilliant scientist who later became evil, to now his mind devolving even more into madness. The only thing left being a husk of his former self, a broken man who can no longer dream. Or does he? Can a man who's lost all sense of self still dream? It's the year 1989 and John is still in prison in Arkham Asylum, rotting away, whatever is left of him, that is. But around this time, his mother Ethel Cripps was able to locate and visit John briefly, however only for his mother's death to occur 1 week later, and Ethel leaving John with her family heirloom, giving John a reason to dream once more and escape Arkham and retrieve everything that was lost. But most of all, his desire, his vision for the world, to be only violence and chaos. John retrieves the ruby. He enters the diner. He sits in a corner. He doesn't let them leave. He gives them their darkest pleasures. He makes them intimate through sex and violence. And in the end, by the 24th hour, all that's left is a broken man, a broken diner, and broken people. Then he hears it, the sound of the diner door opening slowly, interrupting his moment, his thoughts. And when he looks to see who it is, he sees a man dressed in black. And John knows in that instant who this was. It was the Sandman. The conversation that comes after is frightening. After Dream asks John why is he using the ruby like this, John replies, "I've sent my little ruby into their deepest dreams to dredge up the blackness in their souls. I'm hurting them all. I'm driving them mad. It's so much fun. I don't want to stop. I think I'll dismember the world and then dance in its wreckage." And I want you to pay attention to this dialogue because this solidifies that John is clearly insane. However, he also wants to be a god by using a power that isn't his, a power no mortal should have. And I feel like that's the message that Neil was trying to make when writing this, that our curiosity and desires can make us do things that hurt other people. We're trying to discover the unknown without acknowledging the consequences of that discovery, something we learn with John and his dream of his apocalyptic world where he rules over all, coming with the price of his sanity and who he is as a person. And with this story, Neil shows us the repercussions when God and man collide. Humans shouldn't tamper with things that are beyond their knowledge, while gods should not involve themselves with humans outside of their function. If there isn't that line, then that type of power falls into the wrong hands. Or we have gods putting the world at stake for not keeping that power in check. But the way this story ends is with Dream confronting John, not in the waking world, but in his realm, the realm of dreams. And during this fight, you see how much more powerful John is than Dream, almost defeating him in a battle of imagination. But despite John having so much power, the one weakness he has is that he is still human. John gets cocky, destroys the ruby, now he stands alone where no one, no god, no human can go against him. And for a moment, John enjoys this moment of victory until he realizes how alone he really is. He tries to cope by saying how now he's in a place where no one can hurt him. He can hide in dreams and never leave. At least here, it's not like the real world where people can hurt you, where people don't care, where they die when you need them. I will become a wise king, dispensing justice fairly. John celebrates, and his final thoughts were, I thought there would be applause. I thought someone would say something. I thought someone would say something. John realizes he's alone and always has been. He understands that he doesn't matter, that he never did. What comes after is Dream regaining his full power from John in one massive page demonstrating his power. But aside from that, we get a conversation in which John tells Dream that he's sorry for the damage he's caused, which then leads to one of my favorite moments in the story. Dream taking off his coat and giving it to John, concluding the story with Dream allowing John and the rest of humanity to sleep in peace. A lot of Sandman's story is about what do dreams mean and allowing gods to feel relatable to us who are human. And with John's part of the story only lasting 2 issues, it was still able to demonstrate how stupid and dark humans can be, but also how some of those wicked humans can come to reflect and learn that hurting other people isn't the right thing to do. And also how gods can show compassion and empathy to the humans they serve, the people who give them purpose. And it's that purpose that Dream comes to understand in the next story, The Sound of Her Wings. Whenever we picture death, it's usually the hooded skeleton with an overly sized scythe on its hand ready to take us away at any given moment, always making us feel like it's planning on how it'll orchestrate our final moments.
I'm going to eat your soul. Shit it out and use it to smother your fucking girlfriend to death.
And that's usually what you expect to think whenever you picture death in your head. But what Neil does in this single issue is to portray death in a less scary manner. She's portrayed as more of a friend that you never knew but still feels oddly close and familiar to you. Where there was a hooded skeleton man with a scythe, now it's replaced with something more comforting that with just a simple smile, death welcomes everyone. And that's something you see throughout the entirety of issue 8, The Sound of Her Wings. The issue begins with Death and Dream meeting in a park. Dream clueless as to what he's supposed to do next, since this is probably the only goal he's had since probably creating his realm. The thing that's so cool about this is that it's the first time we're seeing Death. It's the first time we're getting to see her physically. And right away from this simple drawing, you can already tell how cool she's going to be. From her little reference about fat pigeons from a Mary Poppins movie to just her randomly pronouncing a word that I have trouble saying, so I won't even try. She also tries to tell Dream what it means, and it's really funny. Or she can be really serious with just the simplicity of her lecturing her little brother about why he didn't call her if he needed her help. But things get even more interesting when she tells Dream to follow her as she does her work. And what we get are some of my favorite moments in comics ever. Death and Dream, while walking, hear a violin playing. They hear a familiar tune but realize it's being played badly. They enter an apartment. It's small and tiny, and sitting on a couch is an old man. His name is Harry. Death recognizes this song that Harry is playing. Harry then stops and notices them and begins to talk about himself.
Can I pato Romany? Not so good. But I can fake a bush. Means to play the fiddle. I'm not a real Romany. Used to play the restaurants and clubs when I was younger. Scarf around my head, you pick up stuff. Nah, I'm no gypsy. I'm a Yid, an old Jew dying lonely in New York, you know.
Yes, I know who you are, Harry. Do you know who I am?
You're... No, not yet! Please, Yeah, I know who you are. Excuse me. Something I got to say. Always used to wonder if I would, but you know what they say. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Adahelo, Adonai Echad, Hero Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. I look so empty, I look so old. It's good that I said the Shema. My old man always said it guaranteed you a place in heaven, if you believe in heaven. So, I'm dead. Now what?
Now's when you find out, Harry.
She draws him close. From the darkness I hear the beating of mighty wings.
I thought he was sweet, didn't you?
Sweet? I do not know, perhaps. My sister, when I was captured, it was not me they wanted, it was you.
Yeah, I know. Come on, I don't want to miss this next one.
Afternoon, nobody wants comedy. They want to drink in peace, make assignations, do their deals. Esme has to fight for every laugh she gets.
Seriously, don't you ever wonder about Batman?
It beats waiting tables.
How he got started?
Her hands are sweating.
I can see him over breakfast saying to his wife, "Morning, hon. Listen, I got something to tell you. I quit the job at the ad agency." So what are you gonna do now, Ralphie, huh? I got it all figured out. I'm gonna dress up like a bat and fight crime. You're gonna what? Ralphie, have you talked this over with your analyst? And what about Robin? Now that kid was...
But if they had captured you, the consequences...
I want to hear this.
Hey, Ma Belle, reach out and kill someone. And this deep voice says, well, there's more where that came from.
They like her. Waves of approval, of sweet laughter, wash over her. Now she's going places. Huh. She's a scream.
Those assholes! I don't believe it! That screwing Mike was live! Those cheap, no good! Who are you? I just realized. That's every comedian's nightmare, huh? Dying on stage.
I thought you were really funny.
No, but I would have been. Why couldn't I have had a few more lousy years? I would have made it to the top. Why?
Sorry, Esme. Your time was up. Come here, honey.
I hear the sound of her wings.
I've reread this issue every now and then just to kind of remind me how fragile life is. We could either live a long life like Harry, or it can be all over in an instant before we can do anything that's meaningful to any of us. But what I love about Death here is that she helps us to accept that fact. She comforts us with a smile. She recognizes our efforts to accomplish our goals even though our time is short. And her whole entire character makes me hope that in the real world, when we do die, that we can actually have someone like her at the end of it all. Whether it's the form of a friend, family member, someone who allows us to move on with the last thing we see being a parting smile and a goodbye. But to sum up everything here, these two issues show exactly the point I'm trying to get at. That when humans and gods collide, it can be really dark and grim, where a god has to save a man from his own sanity and teach him the values of human life. Or it can be something entirely beautiful and full of compassion. And in the world of Sandman, that's constantly changing. And there's many other great examples too, like Facade, where a cruel sun god gives his power to a young girl who was beautiful and turning her into something ugly, where she slowly starts to hate who she is and the world around her. Or the story of Dream meeting with a man who refuses to die, and he meets him in a bar every 100 years to learn about his different life experiences, only for Dream in the end to realize that this person has become more than just another human, but he's actually become his friend. All of this encompasses the world of Sandman and how humans and gods can be cruel to one another, but also really nice and understanding. And I feel that's something that's not really talked about when talking about Sandman. And if you haven't already, please go read or watch Sandman, and thanks for watching. Hey, it's Chris here, and thanks to the many people who've watched the recent JoJo video. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you like this one too. But leave a like and subscribe, and turn on bell notifications to get notified whenever there's a new video. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.